session officially now. Just give us a few minutes to introduce you as a speaker.
Yeah, no problem. Please do yourself. No problem.
He's using phone. Good morning to one and all. Welcome back to the second session of FBP program sponsored by AICTE, organized by the Department of Biotechnology, the Oxford College of Engineering. Today in our second session, we have Dr. Ramakant Harlalka. He is a business venturist. He has graduated in chemical engineering from UDCT, University of Mumbai. He has various business ventures, which includes Sugandha Enterprises, started in Goa in the year 1983 for Citronella lemongrass and palm rose croppings. Nishant Aromas, which was started in the year 1990. Sugandhim, House of Aromatherapy, essential oils and fragrances, started in the year 2002. CG Herbals, Raipur, started in the year 2004. Sanku Baba International, started in the year 2007. Konkan Essential Oils, Dapoli, started in the year 2010 on West Coast for large-scale plantation of aromatic crops like sandalwood, agar wood, intercrop with lemongrass, vetiver, and floral spice crop as boundary like champaka, cinnamon, nutmeg, etc. In the year 2018, all these business ventures were amalgamated from individual proprietaries and partnerships to Nishant Aromas Private Limited. He has prestigious membership in Research Council for CMAP for the period of 2002 to 2008, Governing Council of Fragrance Flavors Development Center, Kannauj. He was a consultant in NABARD, Research Council of Center of Aromatic Plants, Selaki, Uttarakhand Government from the year 2005 to 2015. Subgroup of Floriculture, Medicinal and Aromatic Plants for 11th 5-year plan of Ministry of Agriculture. Crude Drug and Herbal Product Committee of the Scientific Committee of the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. Member of Aroma Mission by Ministry of Science and Technology, Phase 1, 2017 to 19 and Phase 2, 2020 to 2023. He is also a member of Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development at Imphal, sponsored by DBT, Ministry of Science and Technology. He is nominated as an expert in NEDFI committee for setting up Technology Demonstration Center on medicinal and aromatic plants. He holds quite a few honors for his achievements, which includes he represented India on ISO panel for natural essential oil in the year 94, 96, 98 and 2010. Vice President of Medicinal Aromatic Plant Society of India, Lucknow. He focuses on plant-derived products, components and formulations. Committee member of Essential Oil Association of India and FAFAI. Chairman and Honorable Editor of FAFAI. He is appointed by Ministry of Small Scale Industries, which is now MSME, Government of India, with support from UNIDO as consultant for preparing report on impact of WTO on fragrance, flavor, essential oil industry in the year 2001. He has presented many papers of techno-commercial interest in seminars and journals in Israel in the year 1996, Cannes in 1998, Italy in the year 2004, IFEAT in the year 2007. Developing few essential oils and large-scale plantation like basil, lemongrass, citronella, palm rose with the help of CMAP. He's also involved in large-scale plantation of Eucalyptus globulus and Citrodora on the increasing demands. Sir, we are very delighted to have you here. So on behalf of the students, staff and the management of the Oxford College of Engineering, I, Salma, take it a privilege to welcome you as our guest speaker for today's session, sir. So we welcome you, sir, for today's session.
Hello. Hear me?
Yes, sir, we
Hello.
can hear you. Can you see the screen, sir?
Yeah, I can see the screen now. It is okay. Yeah. So I will be speaking today mainly to this August gathering, and thank you, Salma, for introducing the. Of course, it was too much actually. I deserve very little, but nevertheless, it gives the idea of our activity. And this Aroma Mission Phase 2 has started just from the 1st February, because first phase of the Aroma Mission, which was taken in 2017, 18 and 19, and in 20, it was supposed to get ended at the March, but due to the various reason and due to the mainly corona, it got a little bit delayed, and now it has come into existence from 1st of February, which is a very ambitious program from the Ministry of Science and Technology, and it is mainly to expand the aromatic crops throughout the country. And a lot of work has been done by our CSIR institute, especially this CIMAP, Triple IM, Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, Institute of Himalayan Bioresources, and NIST Jorat. So they are the channel partner in this Aroma Mission Phase 2, and of course NBRI is also there. And there are two more other organizations like Indian Toxicological Research Institute, in order to study the whole aspects of toxicological or any side effects, if any, comes out, because these are going to be used for immunity boosting, mainly these essential oils, and there is a very good demand due to this coronavirus, and we see very good future in time to come throughout the world, where India can play very important role as a leader in producing these essential oils. So I will start my presentation. Next slide, please. So you will see this, this our aim of this Aroma Mission Phase 1 was to increase the income of the farmer, whereby the farmers should at least get 50,000 rupees per acre per year. Because now we have seen that due to the excess production of many food crops like wheat, rice, and sugarcane, a lot of farmers agitation is going on due to that, but we never wanted to have any dent on the food, because food is a basic necessity. But apart from that, there is almost something like 34 million hectares of land which is a wasteland in India, where a lot of water comes actually, but those lands can be utilized, and it can give lot of revenue for the India to produce mainly these essential oils. And also it can give the jobs to many of the landless farmers, whom many state governments are now allocating the lands under a very nominal lease, so that the farmers can get this land, and they can put their efforts and can grow many of these aromatic crops which were taken in the phase 1. And these three main aromatic crops were targeted. I will discuss bit more in my next coming slides, and I will show you with the statistics how India become Atmanirbhar Bharat in lemongrass, vetiver, and Pomarosa, which were the origin originated from India. So this carries lot of meaning for India to become the self-sufficient in that. Next slide, please. So you will see the potential. As I told you, there is a huge potential for country like India, where there is a land is there, labor is there, and also water is there. And fourth most important thing is we have tropical climate, like sun is there. Almost 10 hours in most of the part of the country, we get the sunlights, which practically is very much responsible for this accelerated growth of all these aromatic crops. And because these are this all these kind of aromatic crops can be considered as a laboratory under sun, where the phytomolecules are being designed in these leaves or roots or twigs or in the stems. So that way, we are creating the chemical factory through this all these aromatic crops. Next slide, please. So you will see, I have given here, I will try to rush up few of these initial slides, but my idea is to give you the overall picture of how India is very important, and whereby, you can see that India is still having 65% population in the rural area, where the agriculture is the main source of income. And agro enterprises are now very much in demand, and many MSME can come up based on this aromatic crops. As I told you, these three initial crops were very successful, and many thousands of distillation units have come up throughout the country, and we can see the increase in the production. So that is the main aim for this reason, that why this aromatic crops are important for the rural upliftment and getting the more forex in the country. Next slide, please. So you will see that here the agriculture and allied value, actually, if you see this, China and India are playing very important role. Where China, they have done very wisely from last 25 years. They've grown many of the crops, where even I can give you one simple example of eucalyptus oil. Eucalyptus and camphor. These are the two crops which they have planted among their entire forest. Cinnamon camphora and Eucalyptus globulus, which not only gave them the quite a large amount of wood for making them pulp, but also enough leaf which are being collected by the tribals, and they are being distilled by themselves in the very simple distillation units which are provided them to them by Chinese government. And then it is small collection of these oils are being done by the large brokers, which ultimately supplies to the big companies, and those are being exported to even countries like India. India once upon a time was growing a lot of eucalyptus oil in our this nearby region called Uti and Kodaikanal. But now, unfortunately, our production has become in two digits. Once it was 400 metric tons, but now it is less than 20 tons, less than 40-50 tons, and we become a net importer, and we have a huge population. So our consumption kept on rising, and India is one of the large importers from China. So like that, from China, we can learn the lesson, and we can plant more and more crops. That is my whole emphasis for this presentation of today. Next slide, please. So you will see the share of agriculture income in the GDP. If these are the latest data which I have taken from Niti Aayog, which have been published in the month of June 2020, and these are really very recent data, to best of my knowledge, which I could able to get as much as latest data. So you will see that the percentage of GDP is very important for agriculture, from agriculture segment. And as I told you, now horticulture mission has done quite well, and now a lot of horticulture crops are available. But why not aromatic crops? Aromatic crops has been being talked from last 20 years, as I have seen in many of the ministries, also in the Ministry of Agriculture and Science and Technology, as well as MSME also. But it has yet to take a very big role into the big dimensions of the economy, which we definitely want that it should be done as early as possible in the next 3 years. Now, with this aroma mission, I am very hopeful that a lot of increase in the income from these aromatic segments will be possible from the rural segments. Next slide, please. So you will see here the share of agriculture in the economy has fallen by 2/3 since independence. If you see, remember earlier, our country entirely was dependent on agriculture, where the this industry was not so much. This is all well known, but of course our industry has grown up, but our agriculture has grown up to make ourselves as a food self-sufficient. Like we have become Atmanirbhar in foods like wheat, rice and sugar, as well as now pulses also we have become quite self-sufficient, and we are now trying to aim for the oil mission, whereby edible oil, which is imported to the tune of 70 to 80,000 crores of rupees per year, slowly, probably in the next 2 or 3 years, as per the plan of the government, it may become self-sufficient first, and then India may start exporting also. Some of the potential sources of this edible oils are like sunflower, groundnut oil, and that is not in my domain of presentation, but it is a very big potential in this kind of crops. So along with this regular aromatic crops, this if edible oils are also being taken as an intercrop, so that also can be worked out very well. So this way, this agriculture income in India can grow very fast, and that also can develop many MSME, and ultimately leading to the large scale production of aromatic oils together with other big budgeted products like edible oils and so on so forth, so that our GDP ultimately increase, and the contribution of agriculture can go up, and that way this 65 percentage of the population can be provided with the good jobs in the rural segment itself. So that is the basic aim of this whole exercise. Next, please. So here you will see the average size of the farm, which is very important, because of the family fragmentations. This family are getting divided, and many of our youngsters are coming to the big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai, and so on so forth. So they are doing jobs. Many times even their lands are unattended, or one of the brother may be looking after the cultivation parts, but that size is also not enough actually to implement many of the machinery for economical cultivations of any big crops. So ultimately the result is 1 hectare is the average size of the farmlands in India, whereas if you see America or any big other countries, the farm sizes are quite large, and even in Europe, due to the sort of combining of the agriculture land, they are allocating something like 50 hectare of the land to a family, so that they can do sizable production of any particular crop and make that country self-sufficient. But such kind of exercise has not been done so far in India. So ultimately, it results in the fragmentation of land, and where the cost of production is really very low. So except few bigger states like Punjab or Haryana, the farm sizes in the states like UP and Bihar are very low, something like less than 1 hectare, and that is one of the reason actually is in many of the crops like wheat and rice, our cost of production, if you compare it with global prices of wheat and rice, we are not that kind of having competitiveness. So that results in ultimately higher price of the food grains in India, and we cannot even export. So government has to provide lot of subsidies for making extra surplus which is being produced in this country, and ultimately it is a big burden to the government. So I do not know how and this kind of problem will be solved. So that is a big affair for present government also, and they are trying to solve, and it is little bit out of my domain, so I will not speak too much on this. I will go to the next slide, please. Next slide. So here you will see the irrigation coverage has almost tripled since independence. And the biggest boom has come in the last 20 years. You see this drip irrigation. After seeing the drip irrigations from a country like Israel, where I visited myself in late 90s, where I saw that they practically had very little water, but still they could able to raise many of the crops even with the desalination of water, with the solar energy, and with the drip irrigations. All these three things combined together was producing fantastic results in that country. But now those things, after say 2 decades, has started coming to India, and now one of the biggest desalination plants is coming in Gujarat, which I heard from the news channels, and which will be based on the solar energy. So such kind of water availability, and also connectivity of the rivers, and the harvesting of the water, and that also using it judiciously with the drip irrigation, has really resulted into the very good gain in the country. And ultimately now many of the farmers which used to be dependent on only one crop during the rain feeding time now raises 2 crops or even 3 crops. I've seen in many areas during my travel that some of the farmers are raising almost 4 to 5 crops in a year. So that is a really big achievement for our country. And this kind of percolations of more productivity is expanding exponentially in the country with the social media. And many farmers are really getting benefited, which is a very good sign for this country like India. So I am very hopeful that more and more production will take place. Next, please. So here you will see the share of the non-subsistence crop like fruits and vegetables are slowly going up. And you see earlier, as I told you, our country was importing once upon a time wheat and rice from other neighboring country, or even American wheat was very known actually. That lal gehu, was even a thing which we have eaten in our childhood because of the shortage of the wheat. But now that is not a reality in present time of India, and we are getting enough food of very good quality right from our Rajasthan and or even Madhya Pradesh, which are almost something like organic wheat, and rice, very good rice we are getting from whole Chhattisgarh and even Maharashtra and so many other states. So our nutritional value is also going. So many kind of rice has started coming up, but still the fruits and vegetables are getting a lot of dominance. And the if you see the average price of many fruits are really falling. Like example, I was visiting in last couple of days actually to area like Nasik and Vidarbha in our Maharashtra region. Because of the COVID actually we could not able to fly too much outside India, but at least within the India and within the state I could able to see solid growth in custard apples like sitafal, and even fruits like this grapes of so many variety available at a very reasonable price. And also the value added products like kismis made from that is really very big achievements which I can see which is happening in India. And not only grapes or custard apple, but if you see the production of mango and cashew nut, if you see, I'm not including all those things in my more detail in my present presentation. I will be just focusing on aromatic crop, but those are really eye-bowling. And ultimately, the people are getting better quality product at a very reasonable price, which is very good things. But one thing I want to emphasize here is our aromatic crops can go very well with horticulture crops as an intercrop, and that also prevents weeds. So ultimately, this all our aromatic crops are preventing of weed, and so less cost for weedicides, and making more and more better quality of fruits and vegetables for local markets, and as well as oil seed as I discussed already. Next slide, please. So here you will see this so many cargo handling ports are coming. Now I am sitting in my farm actually at Dapoli, which is growing very rapidly into the industrial agriculture zone. And here actually, as you know, earlier the port was we have to ship all our goods from the Mumbai port. But thereafter, when the congestion started becoming more and more, the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust was formed, and that was about 30-40 years back. And we used to ship in last 20-25 years all our consignments mainly from JNPT, because all our factories are located outside Mumbai, and it was not only convenient but also getting the berth at the this seaport also was so easy. But now the new port is coming up next to us near Dapoli is a Dighi port, which is going to be largest port. So which is I have not mentioned here. If you see the chart, actually Mumbai port capacity is very limited as compared to JNPT and Mudra port. But Dighi port will be much more bigger than this kind of port, which will be providing lot of sea shipments, whereby we can have more export oriented economy in time to come. Next slide, please. These are I am just trying to give you a lot of commercial outputs which we have faced in the time. So madam, time spent on the port is very important. See, if you see the China, they are practically having very least time on their ports, because they have just like in India, actually we have started creating Sagarmala kind of ports on the entire coastal line. We have huge coastal line, but China has only the sea coast on the eastern side. But they created so many ports, and which not only enables them to ship the goods which earlier they were shipping from Hong Kong. I remember when I started my business and we were shipping goods either from China to India. It was Hong Kong port which was important in 95 till almost 98. But now almost all the shipments comes from the Chinese ports, right from Beijing on the top to Guangzhou and the bottom. So likewise, so many ports are coming into the India, and that is a very good sign for the future for India. Next, please. So you see this total road length is also increasing. I think most of you must have heard our very dynamic and honorable Minister for Road and Transport, our Nitin Gadkari ji, and he is trying to put the record. And always he quotes that why USA is so rich because of roads, but India was lacking in the roads. But due to our population size, more roads were needed, and I am very hopeful. These are the figures of 2017, but I am so hopeful that in 2021, the new charts when it will be made, it will cross USA, and the quality of roads will be also good. That is very much hopeful I am. Even the Bombay Goa roads, which we used to use very often for commuting right from last 38 years, when I started my first factory in Goa, but we come to Dapoli, now it is getting broadened. So that is very good sign for our country. And once if our roads infrastructure will be ready, our time for commuting goods from one place to another will be very easy. And that is very true for our all agriculture commodity. Next, please. So here you will see the Indians total wireless data communication, where we have really made a very big achievement. Now almost 0.87 is a ratio of our mobility connections. Even in a small village like Dehan, where I am sitting here, I have got very good connection of Reliance through the towers on the mountains, and I am very much connected with you all people, whereby Salma madam is running the entire slideshow from there at Bangalore, and we can able to talk with each other through this slide presentation. So this revolution is happening very rapidly, and we are very hopeful that in another few months we will be having 5G, which will revolutionize, and we can practically have much more better communications in time to come. I can see so many towers coming up in our new area, where we have put up large size of farms here in almost 200 acres. So many patches we are taking on the sea coastline of this Maharashtra around Dapoli. So this is only possible with the better communication. Otherwise, without the connectivity, we would have been lost. So this is a very good sign for our country. Next, please. So here you can see the cashless payment. Of course, now we are so familiar, and now we are doing entire transaction through the almost Paytm or our cards, and the transactions have become so transparent and so easy. Even for getting the corona vaccine also, we are trying to pay our payments, and even getting booked particular slots. So that is really very big sign, and I'm very hopeful that these all things will help us in accelerating the growth of our Aroma Mission Phase 2 also. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you will see the India's share in the exports in the world market. Our services, because of our IT revolution in country, especially from the big cities like Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Bangalore, and Chennai, and Cochin. So many young IT Shevoy people are really creating big dent in earning the forex in our Indian market, and many companies have come and they really established very good name in the world market. And goods, of course, we are a bit slow, but I am very hopeful for another 3 years that a lot of good development will occur in 21, 22, and 23. And by 24, really we will try to have very good economy of $5 trillion, and that will be the combined efforts of both services as well as the goods. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here you will see the merchandise trade balance with the trading partners. If you see, we have only surplus with USA, but with all other countries which I listed in this chart, like China, we are very much in negative side. Why? Because so many things, so many small and micro enterprises which we could have started, we could not able to start because of the lot of problems and lot of things. But now the things are changing very rapidly, and due to this our honorable prime minister's initiative of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we want to make in every segment our self reliance, and try to reach not only for this great country of India, but also try to export in the world market, so that really we can do a very big dent. Even you see the first largest trade balance negativity is with not only China, but I can see Iraq, but Saudi Arabia. That is due to the oil. But I am anticipating that due to the more and more use of solar power, our dependence on fossil fuel will be less and less. Which
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
quite like see clove, entire clove we are importing, actually clove leaf oil we are importing from Indonesia, even patchouli oil, which I will talk about it in my aroma mission presentation. And you will see that there is a very good self Atmanirbhar, and suppress the Indonesian trade balance chart. And but Indonesian trade balance chart is negativity because of palm oil also import. So essential oil import is very meager amount, but palm oil is a really very big amount. So that is where we will try to get self reliance on our India itself by raising more and more aromatic crops. Next, please. So here we will see that large scale cultivation, understanding safety of essential oils, that ITRC is embedded for that. Value addition through CIMAP, Triple IM, Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, and also the IHBT Palampur. And the efficacy will be judged by many of our DBT institutes for bio molecules. And this Institute of Oxford is also trying to do great work, and I'm very hopeful in the time to come. This essential oils biomolecules study can be the real focus for the university, and it has very good future. As we have seen this time in this Corona period also, this many of our conventional things have really saved a lot of Indian people from coronavirus negative impact, like tulsi, then ajwan, and then so many other things like cinnamon and so on and so forth, which I will discuss in my next slide. And self-sustainable we will become, and capture to the idea is to, based on our experience, we want to capture the global market, because we are the country, we can grow these all things not only for our captive consumption but also for the global market, because no other country have such a huge labor populations, and land is there with us. Fortunately, lot of marginal land is there, which I discussed, but lot of usar land and lot of waste land is there, which is a target and main prime focus for our aroma mission phase 2. Next slide, please. So I will give you the success story of one of the oil, which is mentha oil. Mentha oil is also known in Hindi as a pudina, and there are four varieties which are grown commercially: Mentha arvensis, Mentha citrata, Mentha piperita, Mentha spicata. And the spearmint and Mentha piperita have been grown in USA, and we have now grown up now in such a big quantity. Now most of the American companies are sitting in India, and they are practically raising this and exporting to America. Earlier, this both these oils have been used for the toothpaste, and I will show you through my next few slides how India not only becomes self-reliant, for which the effort started by CIMAP and Triple IM in way back 1956 and onward. And then not only we become self-sufficient, now we are largest producers and exporters of this essential oils. Next slide, please. So here you will see, as I told you, 1960, we were importers of menthol. In 1960s to 70s, our production started, and we become the self-sufficient gradually. And 73, our annual production of import of peppermint, which is a particular variety for especially toothpaste like Colgate and Pepsodent. We have been importing this 30 metric ton of American mint oil called Mentha piperita. But in 1992, we become almost not only self-sufficient, but started exporting, and that was a fortunately time for me actually to enter way back in 1982-83 in this business. So I saw the whole growth of this not only self-reliance of India, but turning from Atmanirbhar to export-oriented economy. Next slide, please. So here you will see this Mentha oil is grown in four major districts in the Uttar Pradesh. Now there is a talk on one district, one crop. So like that, you know, this Uttar Pradesh, I have listed here, this especially 5, 6 districts, which are really big area having cultivation. And Bihar is there, Begusarai and Buxar. And in Punjab, Ludhiana and Jalandhar was there. But later on, they become less and less. So in this pie chart, you will see that Uttar Pradesh dominate the major figures of the Mentha oil, and this Bihar followed the Uttar Pradesh, and Punjab is getting diminished. But new state is coming up very fast, and where every week, almost yesterday also, we had a very big meeting of farmers, like almost 20,000 hectares of mint has been planned to be planted in the state of Bundelkhand, which is becoming a very big hub for producing mint oil. Next slide, please. So here now top 5 importing countries of Indian mint oil. If you see the China, which was exporting before 1990 and 1980, it was China who was dominating. And now in China has become the one of the largest importers of this mint oil, and they almost import something like more than 10,000 metric tons, which is not a small amount because of their huge population, followed with USA and followed with the Singapore, which is a transit port for many developing country nearby, because a lot of trading houses are there. But for Europe, you can see Germany and Netherlands, they also rely on Indian mint oil and its production. Next, please. So here you will see the export of mint oil. In 2015-16, lot of export was there. Slowly and unfortunately, it slowly falled actually. But again, it is rising, and now in 2021, we are anticipating that the export will be even much more because of this corona. The mint is one of the oil which has been used in many of the cough syrups and many of the preventive care formulations. So the mint oil export we anticipate in the by year 2021 will end in the month of March. It may touch almost something like 30,000 tons. So which will be a great achievement for the country like India, whereby we will be almost gaining something like more than $500 million or something like $600 million by way of forex through the export of mint oil. Next, please. So here you can see the lot of research and developments are going on in the mint oil. Why mint is so getting faster in India? You can see many of the research student. That is what I included slide in this particular presentation was to show that many of the PhD and students who are standing with our one of the scientists of CMAP, Saudhan Singh, who is very dedicated for the mint export and mint cultivation by introducing in the many intercropping with many other crops. Like he is standing with some of his PhD student in intercropping fields like sugarcane, wheat, and so on and so forth. So many food crops are being cultivated with mint crops. Now, like right now is the time of plantations for the mint, which is going on along with the wheat. So wheat will be cut in the month of April, and then mantha will come up. And in the month of June, first cutting of mint will be taken. July, second cutting, and by August or September first week, third cutting will be taken, and thereafter the another crop will be taken by the farmer. So by having this kind of summer crops as a mint crop, they are making additional revenue, and that revenue is not small, something like 1 lakh rupees per acre per year. They make money, which is making them doubling the income of farmers slogan, which has been instituted by our Honorable Prime Minister. So that is happening in case of mint crops, along with the food crops like wheat, and they can raise even rice crops also thereafter, and sarson also, or potato thereafter, rice also. So like that, I told you 5 crops in a year. So farmers are easily making 2 to 3 lakhs rupees per year per acre. So which is their hard effort is getting rewarded in terms of money, and also they are getting enough food and also enough of the biomass for their cattle also, for which they are always dependent on agriculture. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah, so you can see the so many varieties. You can see the Sim Indus variety. We developed in way back 2005 and 6 the varieties mainly to compete with American mint, and really it revolutionized. So like that, Madhurikas, Tushar, and Pranjal, these are not by GMO, no GMO business, but it is through the somaclonal variation, and also by having the acclimatization and by proper agro practices, or at the most breeding to certain extent by very nice scientists who are working in our Central Institute of Medicinal Aromatic Plants. And these are the fields picture taken at the CMAP itself. Next, please. So you can see that in Uttarakhand, so many farmers, we work with them very closely. They try to make the organic mint, which has a huge demand actually in the world market. Even during this Corona period also, we have been exporting this organic mint world over by FedEx, by special planes even, because this mint oil is very good remedy for removing the cough and cold, and which was a major symptoms visible in the case of corona. So otherwise also the mint flavor is very much liked by everyone. So I think the demand for such kind of crops will be much and much higher. And organic, of course, Americans and Europeans especially are very much happy to pay for higher premiums if they can get organic mint oil produced, because which is possible in only country like India, which has very small farm size. Whereas in a country like America, I have seen the plantations are running at least 1,000 acre plus kind of quantum. So they are spraying all the pesticides through the plane, which is not possible in India, And this kind of small cultivation with all Jivamrit and other things are not possible in big countries like America. So we are two different ends actually. Future is there with country like India to produce more and more organic essential oils. Next, please. So here you can see now second oil which I am trying to give you example is lemongrass, also called as a Gauti chai or green tea, for which we sometimes drinks the green tea. Actually, many times nowadays in many office and many places, even in the public domain, also when we go, Amrit Tulya Chai, these people are started offering green tea actually from lemongrass dry leaf, and these pictures are from our own field at Dapuli, where we have done these plantations in the organic way, and the main component is citral. And in the past, actually, it has been grown in the state of Kerala. I will show you in the next slide, please. Next slide. So you can see this Odakali 19, which was one of the variety which was raised in 1988, because it was based on the somaclonal variations data derived by the Odakali Research Institute, which comes under ICR, and they developed this variety called OD19, also known as a Sugandhi variety. And this was very popular in Kerala, state of Kerala, where the oil yield was something like 1.5 per hectare. But our target was very high because we wanted to have at least something like double the yield. So in that regards, these two CSIR institute, especially Triple IM, Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, came up with the CKP 25, and they developed in 1989 this variety called CKP 125, and which started yielding zero point 0.5 to 0.6 percentage oil. And then you can see the chart actually, it started giving 370 to 400 kilo per hectare. So which was a very big gain for the farmers. And simultaneously in Krishna variety was made in 1997 by CIMAP, and CIMAP Bangalore Center developed this variety. One of our very genius scientists was there, Dr. Kulkarni, who was really responsible for raising this crop, and he has domesticated practically at various centers of CIMAP, which runs from Bageshwar to Pantnagar to Lucknow to Hyderabad, and of course Bangalore was the origin center. So that way it became most popular, and the yield reported is something like zero point 0.5 to zero point 0.6. But I tell you, just now I am sitting in my farm where we are getting something like 1.3 to 1.4 percentage yield because of the better distillation, and because of the domestication, and also acclimatization into the Konkan climate. So these simple techniques can make our productivity from per hectare, like that initial target was 100 kilo per acre, means 200 to 230 to 250 kilo per hectare, but now we can go up to almost 450 to 500 kilo per hectare. So that is a very big achievement. I think technology keeps on going with the Kaizen process, and we are in it actually with the help of this our all CSIR institutes like CSIR at Triple IM and CMAP, and even NIST Jorat also on the other end side of the northeast, where there is enough scope for raising these crops in a very large scale. Next, please. So I will give you some of the data. This export was done in the way back 1957 till almost 67. I have given the old data, but you can see the fall of export. It was done mainly from Kerala, and quantity was not small, but it was something like few few hundreds of ton, or I should say, it was almost as much as touching 2,000 tons of production was there from Kerala way back in 1957-58. But why it has fallen? Because of synthetic citral has come. But now the world has learned a very hard lesson that citral and lemongrass or many of the derivatives like vitamins which are made from the synthetic sources, which comes from the fossil fuel like C5 isoprene chemistry, has a lot of negativity, like C14 carbon atom is not active. That is due to the fossil fuel. Whereas our lemongrass produced from the India has the C14 active hydrocarbon. So that gives the real very different efficacy factors into the treatment of the people, for which it has been used for many medical applications also. So next slide, please, because now time is running short actually. So I will just go very quickly because it is almost 12:30, and now synthetic citral. In the meanwhile, big company, which has been processing from petrochemical sources, the three big giants, which has not come yet to India, where BASF Germany, Kurare from Japan, and NHU from China, they started producing with the quantity which are quite a large quantity. And they have been producing this synthetic citral. In the meanwhile, China started producing Litsya cubeba oil from the southern part of China, and they almost reached 5,000 metric tons. But our graph kept on decreasing till almost 2015, and now we are started again the reverse journey. Next slide, please. In this aroma mission phase one, this our major emphasis was to increase the production of all these aromatic crops. Like this is a tribal belt of Jawar in Maharashtra, where the income of the farmers are very very marginal. So basically, these farmers are practically used to leave this area like Jawar to come for the work in Mumbai, and they were doing the road construction work. So with the intervention of CMAP and this NGO like BIF, we came into picture, and we started growing this lemongrass in that region. And the distillation unit was provided with Aroma Mission Phase 1. And this unit is distilling now the oil there, which we buy, and also we provide them technical help in day-to-day affair, and also upgrading the distillation equipment also. And also propagation is done by the tribal farmers, which you can see in the pictures. They are very innovative actually. They are very hard working young boys, and we need such kind of people more and more, so that they can demonstrate to their local people in their local language, and convince the other next door farmers to cultivate such kind of crops to raise more income. Next, please. So you can see some of the pictures where my son and me and our some of the people are there, and of course the girl on the left hand side, she is from IIT Mumbai, and she has been working on her post doctorate programs under such kind of rural mission, and such kind of youngsters energy is really making us also more motivated to do more and more such kind of projects. And in last Aroma Mission Phase 1, almost 700 such kind of unit has been installed throughout the country, right from Leh Ladakh till Kanyakumari, and we are anticipating much more this with the Phase 2 programs. Next, please. So you can see this whenever new variety comes, our Minister of Science and Technology is always very glad to introduce to people like us such kind of new variety. And this Sim Shikhar was again made by our famous scientist Mr. Kulkarni from Bangalore CMAP Center, and he tried to acclimatize in such a way that this planting material can not only yield 20 to 25 percentage more oil, but also it can sustain any kind of drought condition or any kind of higher rainfall also. So such kind of innovations are kept on going, and we keep with it. Next, please. You can see this spent grass from the lemongrass is also used for making mushroom because it has lot of nutrition. So now this everything is useful. Water we are using for making Jivamrit, which is very effective for even our horticulture crop, which we are making as a intercropping with the lemongrass, and this spent grass we are using for making mushrooms. Next, please. Next, yeah. So this you can see the export has started rising now again, because these are the data from 2018, but in 2020 the statistics are very different. And maybe in the next more interactive event, actually, when we take individual oils, we can present those data also. We have compiled of 2020 also and 19 also, which is a very healthy sign for the exports. Next, because earlier actually our export was limited because our lot of demand has come from India. So 2019, as I told you, the export is rising every month. Next, please. And this data I have also taken from limited ports, even I have not included many of the odd ports. This another oil which we have taken in Aroma Mission Phase 1 was Palmarosa oil, also known as a Tikhadi ka tel. And this was picture actually which was practiced in 1950s and before that, where the tribals used to harvest this lemongrass around Amravati, Paratwada and Akola and entire Khandes area. And these were the livelihood for them. And this oil was being exported through the Mumbai port to many developed countries like America and Europe through the sea. But later on, actually, till almost 1980, this wild source was considered as the only source for making these oils. But in order to make it more sustainable, many new varieties have been developed by the CMAP called PRC1, PRC2, so many variety, Praman and so on and so forth. So these varieties have started resulting into the more oil yield, and this is an ideal crop for making cultivation along with the horticulture crop. Like we started promoting it in the Gujarat, in the area of Kutch, and many places where the even water was salty, and it grows very well there because it is a sort of weed actually. So it is competing other weeds, and it is very powerful crop. Next, please. So I will just show you a few slides actually. These are the latest pictures of 2020 in district of Akola, and with one of our my friend actually son, and he has done his chemical engineering, but then he had his own jewelry shop. So instead of entering into the big jewelry shop business, he entered into the farming because they had about 25 acres of land. So that is what motivate us actually to start such kind of micro and small ventures, and with the cultivations of Palmarosa. So the natural habitat of Palmarosa, Simbopogon Simbopogon martini was brought back to the Akola with the improved variety, and we cultivated this in Akola to yield the commercial oil. Next, please. So you can see the export of Palmarosa. It is continuously on rising. As I told you, these are the data of 2018. Next, please. And also some data of 2019 also I have given. So the graphs every month we try to monitor, and these data are not real data from any government institute, but we try to get it from at least Mumbai port from subscription base. So the many other ports are there like Cochin and Chennai and so on and so forth. The real data, cumulative data from government will be published, and but those are quite late. So we wanted to get the trend at least. So that this is very encouraging trend to get the latest data for 2020 before we drafted our Aroma Mission Phase 2 programs. Next, please. So you can see the third oil, which is lemongrass, Palmarosa. They have been habitat of India. Again, lemongrass came from Kerala. Palmarosa came from our Maharashtra, and of course entire South India. Also, Palmarosa was grown wildly, and vetiver, also called as a Valancha in Kannada. This it has been grown around Kundapur and this entire south belt around Mangalore to entire South Canara. And this has been one of the very important source for our khas oil. And this South Indian khas oil is well known for its aroma, and it has been an item of commerce. But it was mainly coming from wild source. But in 2000 onward, a lot of effort has been done by CMAP to develop many variety like KS1, Simriddhi, and so on and so forth to get better yield and better productivity in lesser period. Like 1 year cropping cycle has been made by CMAP, so that 11 months you can harvest and another 1 month for replantation. And these roots are the source for the oil. Next, please. So you can see now this year in 2021, this is the latest picture I try to include here. Now in the UP, our Adinath Yogi ji has taken up it for growing around the Ganges and the Yamuna. So both the side of the river actually have been lying idle actually without any productivity, because many times during the monsoon time it gets submerged. And the vetiver is a crop which has been growing in the past, but due to the excess harvesting of it by people from Kannauj, they never made it sustainable. But now, with the effort of CMAP and Forest Department and the state government, it has been reintroduced into this coastal location, whereby this lot of farmers are getting benefit, and these forest lands are being leased for a very nominal sum, and it is providing employment to not only people but also it provides the oil at a very reasonable cost actually, which has made not only India Atmanirbhar, but we started exporting now in last couple of months actually of this year to 2021. We started exporting actually because we have become globally competitive. And now with more and more introduction in phase two, we are going to surpass even Indonesia, Haiti, who have been a major source for our export to India because of its large consumption in pan masala and mouth freshener industry, and also for making attars also. Next, please. So this is a route just to give you a pictorial view of the plants. Next, please. How this it consumes lot of labor. So even we've been growing various in our own factory also at Palghar, various variety, and we try to find out how much root are being produced, how many time it has been multiplied at our Mumbai factory, just to study the essential oils aspects and doing its GCMS, and also its sort of growth and how economical it can be made. So field view I showed you in the previous slide. Next slide, please. So you can see this some of the handicrafts which are made nowhere else but Kundapur actually from Karnataka area, and the old this is a old traditional art which has been practiced in this area by many artisans. So such kind of roots are not only made for making such kind of nice handicraft, but also from the spent root after extracting the oil also we started making many of such kind of handicrafts, and giving it very good value addition in this way actually, so that lot of employment can be generated from every part of the plants. Next, please. So you can see the import of vetiver. As I told you, because of our huge consumption in India for pan masala and Mukshuddhi market, our import was very substantial in 2018, and that was our target to make India as a Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we really made it actually. And 2019, you will see. Next, please. Next slide. 2019, you will see comparatively, if you compare the import data, it is becoming less and less. And in 2020, practically it almost stopped. And 2021, now we are exporting. And we are very hopeful that practically, I am not saying that we will wipe out others, but India will become a global leader, just like mint oil in vetiver oil also. Vetiver, lemongrass, Palmarosa, which started in phase one. So we become global leader apart from mint oil. So our portfolio of essential oil grows from 1 to 4. And slowly in phase two, which I will discuss now more and more in my next 15 minutes of presentation, because now 15 minutes is remaining. So I will try to discuss on new oils. which we will be taking in aroma mission number 2 also, apart from this 4 oil. Next, please. So another oil which we have taken is a geranium oil. We have been importing, you see the figures actually, these are astonishing figures. World demand is 400 metric tons, demand in India is 100 tons, production in Egypt is 350 tons, Chinese production is now 40 to 50 metric ton because they were dominant earlier, but it was captured by Egypt. But now it is a time of India. And I can assure you that in 21-22, we will become a global leader. And 2023, we will practically export geranium to China as well as Egypt or any other country in the world, whether it is Europe or USA. Now, almost this year, 2021, we have taken almost 10,000 acres plantation. I am sitting in the geranium field itself right now at our farm in this Dehan in Dapoli district, where we have grown up very nice quality of geranium, which is again based on tissue culture and all the tools of biotechnology which we use without any GMO, of course, but with a good agro practices, and our productivity is much more than Egypt or China. Next, please. And quality, of course, is much better. So you can see here our development part actually. We are creating this kind of rooted saplings, and these are our fields in 2020 and means these are the pictures of December 2020, and this lot of efforts has been done right from 2002 onwards, whereby geranium bio village was introduced in the Uttarakhand state with Simpawan as a variety from CIMAP, but later on so many new variety has come up. Now recently CIMAP has introduced one new variety called 171 Srim Unnati also, and there is one very good variety which has come from based on Chinese material, is from SH Kilkar and Company, which is very, very successful. So the field is from Kilkar varieties Chinese geranium, which create more biomass and ultimately result into the more oil for the farmers to get more income and more oil. Next, please. So you can see the import. We were a huge net importer every month because of our this pan masala industry. All the good pan masalas are containing practically geranium because it is known as a rose scented geranium. So geranium oil is something like 12,000, 10,000 rupees a kilo, but rose is something like 7-8 lakhs rupees a kilo. So best alternative, and the use component wise it is very similar with a few missing component which we can add up also into the flavor by making addition of geranium and create the rose fragrance for the mouth fresheners, which is liked by every Indians. So that way the chutney, pan masala, and even pan itself actually consumes lot of rose kind of flavor because Gulkand is liked by everyone. So this is geranium is not from the flower, but it is from the leaf. So that way the oil production is quite a lot. Next, please. So 2019 import, you see, it is still there. And 2019 only very little production of India was there. Earlier it was produced in Kodaikanal and Ooty, but there the land has become very, very scarce and very expensive. So that has prohibited many of the farmer because they sold off the lands to so many resorts and so many other activity. And now this geranium is being grown around Maharashtra in a large area, even in the area like Konkan, where we are located, and it grows very well. It needs more sunlight. It needs slope so that no water should get stagnant. Otherwise, it will kill its root actually, which is very sensitive. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So another second big oil which we are taking, which Corona has taught us to get dependent on that is Tulsi oil. And this basil oil, we are now producing. Our production of Ocimum basilicum fortunately was very good. Ocimum sanctum was also 50 tons in past few years. This is the average figure which I am talking. Other countries are very meager compared to us because India is a tulsi loving country and every house has got, but more cultivation is also there on the field, and based on the many varieties developed by the CMAP and Triple IM. So now many more varieties have come up. This year we have introduced about 11 new varieties of tulsi which has different phytochemicals. I will show you little bit of a glimpse of tulsi oil. Next, please keep on rolling slide faster because my time is coming to end. And you can see the different genotype of tulsi. Some are giving more camphor, some are giving more thymol, some are giving more cineol, some are giving more methyl chavicol, some are giving more linalool, some are giving more citral, and so many phytochemical can be created among the tulsi leaf itself, whereby again I can say that tulsi itself is a chemical factory in its own. Next, please. Next slide. So you can see the export. We are net exporter of tulsi, and in time to come, our publicity of India, just like a vaccine has become a solution provider for corona. Tulsi is for immunity boosting. If you take kada of tulsi and even the coronil tablets from Patanjali is nothing, but it is one of the tablet is extract of tulsi, and that is being sprayed right into the form of powder. So like that, tulsi has very good demand. It comes up very easily. It is very farmers friendly. It raises good amount of seeds. It raises good amount of dry leaf and also twigs also, which are used for making dhoop agarbatti. So all the three parts are being consumed, and that way it becomes quite profitable for the farmer. Next, please. So these are the data I am trying to give, how the increasing trend is occurring from India. And 2020 data I have not put up here, but it is very good actually. I can say very good. Many Tulsi formulation has come, Panch Tulsi. One from Dabar actually is from our side, our company, whereby we give them different different of Tulsi, which has become Panch Tulsi, and many other companies are also buying actually, who are pharma company or Ayurvedic company, and their products are quite successful and really very effective. Next, please. So this another oil is rosemary in the same series. So this rosemary is also another very good oil. Next, please. Because this is coming up in the mountains very well, and rosemary India has been importing, but slowly we will export. Next. Next. So in 2019 we have been importer. Lavender is another big oil. In Kashmir we are going in a big way. Big way means the lavender festival we will be celebrating after 2014, after this aroma mission has come, and I am there as a part of the Triple IM that farms committee also, whereby we are trying to make our planting material more available to the farmers, giving them more income. The same farmer who have been growing corn, they were making only 5,000, but our aim is to make them money of at least 2 to 5 lakhs rupees per acre per year in this growing organic lavender. Next few slides very quickly because only 6 minutes are remaining. So this is education to many of the young entrepreneurs, girls actually, in the valley, where I have been joining regularly with them at Triple IM. Next slide, please. So these are farmers Mela at Jammu, and in our farms at Triple IM in Cheta Farms, which is next to Pakistan border. Next, please. And these are the import of lavender. We want to become again Atmanirbhar and then export oriented. Next, please. Very quickly. Yeah, very quickly. Yeah. Sandalwood. Again, sandalwood is an item of Bangalore, and I need not have to tell more, but we are planting everywhere as an intercrop. So few more slides, quickly run one after another. So these are the data from our, next. My battery is getting off, so please you run.
Ramakant ji, you can take 10 minutes extra, no issue.
Okay, okay. So you please run. I will charge it actually, and
Yeah.
I will try to run the show. Okay. So you please run the slideshow.
So we are with the Pacholi oil slide, sir.
Yeah. I will be coming to Pacholi also. Yeah, Pacholi oil is there, and Pacholi is very important, and it is a part of mouth freshener. Again, India imports almost 900 tons of Pacholi, and CMAP started the work at our Bangalore center. And you can see and meet Dr. Sundaresh there, actually, who has been very much instrumental in developing the new varieties there. And this oil, almost 900 ton is a very big amount actually, which we are draining foreign exchange. Our production is not even 9 tons. So this in the area of Konkan right now where I am sitting, we are growing Pacholi in a big way and trying to make Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this oil has huge potential, I can say. Next slide, please. So you can see the leaf which are being collected freshly. And I just gave the old figure of 700 to 800 metric ton. But last year we calculated almost 900 tons has come in 2020 out of 1400 metric tons of Indonesian production. So that way, this Pacholi has very important. We started in Chhattisgarh plantation of this Pacholi, and the biggest advantage of Pacholi is it's a shade-loving tree. So it can come up in any horticulture crop, like in Karnataka and Andhra. A lot of people are growing many of the horticulture crops whereby they can grow Pacholi underneath it without any troubles and make more income than the horticulture income by these aromatic crops of Pacholi raising. So, if some people are interested, actually, we can interact more closely, and I will try to give my cell number also. You can send me WhatsApp, and we can interact more. And I think some people should take up it very seriously and promote it more actually and more, so that India becomes self-reliant in this very important oil. And biotechnology is playing very important integral role. It is very complicated oil in the sense it has a lot of natural biomolecules which are sesquiterpene in nature, oxygenated sesquiterpenes, which are very difficult to synthesize from any renowned synthesis. So that way the nature has its own role, and its beauty is being displayed through this tiny leaf, and it's essential oil. Next, please. I will show you some more picture. You will get import of Pacholi. Every month you can see up to 80 metric tons per month actually has gone. So that way, on an average, as I told you, 700 to 900 metric tons of oil have been imported in the past couple of years, and which is a very big amount of foreign exchange drain. And our target is to stop this import as early as possible. I cannot predict any when it will stop. It depends entirely on Indian entrepreneurship and our promotion of this Pacholi. And many times, Indonesia is not so easy to compete because they have the similar kind of developing economy like India. They have cheap labor, cheap land, and they also sense very fast. They in fact in 2003, 4, 5 we started under the this horticulture mission, this Pacholi programs. But this immediately this Indonesian people they introduced a program called Cultiva program, and they started distributing, supporting nice saplings and nice distillation units to their farmers, and ultimately farmers promoted more and more. And our Indian Pacholi was very badly hit due to the price front, because they never wanted to lose the market of Indian pacholi. If we become self-reliant, actually, then that will be a great loss for them. So they sense very quickly, but our, unfortunately, I should not say, but we could not able to sense such kind of commodity so seriously, and we kept on sleeping and importing more and more oil. And now India is a net importer, as I told you, in a big quantity. Next, yeah, 2019. And next oil is a eucalyptus oil, actually, which is, I remember when I started my career, I used to come to very often to Uti and Kodaikanal, where at that time 400 metric ton was a production, and a lot of rainfall was there in this Nilgiri hills and Kodaikanal hills, and these trees were growing very well. So many distilleries we can see around the roadside, and in the market also we can see lot of shops. But now the scenario is totally different. Actually, these distilleries are very less, or they are distilling some small quantity, but more shops. More shops means more sale of the oil, because more population coming to this very nice, beautiful hill station. But more Chinese material being sold into the small Indian bottles with the Indian labels, and we company like us, we import from China because we don't have production, and our policy has not been promoting such kind of oil. And see, eucalyptus has been said to take a lot of water, but I will not go into the myths and argument for that. But there are many areas where there is a excess water. Tell you, this area where I am sitting in Dapoli, there is a plus 400 centimeter rainfall. So I started growing my lot of eucalyptus varieties, which are very well grown here, like Eucalyptus citrodora, which has been grown very well in our Devnalli area of Bangalore. I brought the seeds from that area, actually, and also good seeds from many other sources of eucalyptus, and it grows very well. So basically, and then the whole India has many places where the water is quite excess. So that is the zone, actually, where we can grow more and more of eucalyptus, and we can really become self-sufficient in it. We are importing now to the extent of 1,500 to 2,000 metric tons. I am compiling the latest data of 2020, and that will become our focus for becoming first as Atmanirbhar and then export oriented. China, whereas, is exporting 20,000 metric tons of eucalyptus oil. So we can see the industry, and we can really get a good Citrodora is another oil, actually, which we are importing, and very little production is taking place around Bangalore, which is old type around Devnalli, and in some of the Karnataka forest also. But that production is very meager, something like 100 tons, whereas the demand is more than 1,000 tons. So that can be, and we have these are the trees, actually, and at our own site. So it is a very good source for the wood, as well as leaf is used for making the oil also. It contains mainly citronellal. Next, please. So Eucalyptus globulus and Citrodora, both this variety. And third, of course, is a radiata, which can be used very well for growing and making the oil and wood also. Next. India also has huge eucalyptus, but it is all hybrid, and it is mainly grown for wood, actually, where the leaf is wasted. I feel if some of the people start distilling the oils, it can be like, well, it can create wealth out of waste. Next. So import, as I told you, huge quantity of import is there now in India because of our consumption. And now with the corona, eucalyptus oil consumption has gone up exponentially in 2020. Next. Same is true with orange. Unfortunately, we grow so many citrus fruits, but we hardly produce any oil at all. We consume more for fresh fruits. We hardly make any juices. One of the factory was there in India, which was processing orange juice, which was Noga, Nagpur Orange Growers Association, but that was shut down long back because of many reasons. I will not discuss too much in detail. But if we grow more and more citrus fruits, as has been found that in this corona period, These citrus fruits are very good for immunity boosters. So not only orange, lemon, lime, and so on so forth, grapefruits, and these trees can be called as a kalpa vriksha in my eyes, where the leaf gives the
Sir, your
actually.
voice
Can you
is.
hear where we, yeah. Is it coming okay?
Yeah, sir, fine.
That way, this orange, we are a huge importer from Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, countries. So 2018 data, you can see that every month we are importing huge quantity. Next, 2019, same position, and lemon also. Lemon, we are again very big importer. Next, please. A very big importer of all the citrus oil in brief. Next, next. Then comes citronella oil. This citronella oil is very important, and we have been exporting citronella oil in the past. Even our company has exported in 2000, 1995, 96, 97, 98. But India became a net importer after 98 actually, because 98 onward Chinese people become very aggressive. They lowered the price, and almost to the extent of 15 years we have been importing this citronella oil from mainly China, and then came synthetic. And now again, the export of citronella oil has started again because of the increased plantations. And in Aroma Mission also, we wish to take it more aggressively to have cultivation in many areas with many new varieties which are very high yielding, like Bio 13 variety and so on so forth. This gives very good yield, and which are very drought tolerant, and so many other features are there in those. So they can be a very big feather in cap for Aroma Mission because it's a large volume. Recently, I was just seeing last month's export data of Indonesia. So they are exporting every month more than 200 metric tons oil to the developing countries like America and Europe. So because of this mosquito repellency, this oil is very much consumed in large quantity. So India has very big future for this. Next, please. So you can see it is rising, but a lot of import is also there because we are getting imported from the neighboring countries like Myanmar, China, or even sometime Nepal, or even sometimes Sri Lanka also. So import is there, export is there, but more productivity has to be there in India. Next, please. Next. Another big oil is which I wanted to talk actually is a clary sage oil, Salvia sclaria, which can grow. It is almost it can grow in any part of Himalayan mountains, and it's a very big industry. I've been telling many forum actually to produce it. India is a net importer of, in my wordings I have written that is clariol and ambroxan. India is the largest importer of ambroxan for mouth fresheners because of its unique taste actually. So this we have been importing and producing nothing, practically few kilos, but entire ice region, entire Himalayan region, we can grow in a big way. On the other side, in China, especially in Xinjiang province, they have grown almost something like uh, uh, few thousand, or I should say few million of hectares of land, and they are producing few thousands of tons of clary sage oil and sclareol also from it. Big factories are there in Xinjiang. Next. So this is just import data I am trying to give. And sclareol I have not listed here because it little bit confused some people. So this is why I avoided it. Please. Next. Then jasmine oil. India is very lucky to have jasmine of both types, jasmine grandiflorum and jasmine sambac. And India dominates this both the oil in very good position. And now India exports this both concretes and absolute, especially from Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai region, and where these flowers are being used for part of the day-to-day life, especially the food market surplus is being processed, and whenever the flower prices are very less on that particular day, it is done by solvent extraction, and good amount is being exported. More and more people are getting inclined towards the natural, so there is a good scope, and it is being done already. So India has been a net exporter for this both the commodity. And third is the jasmine reticulum also. So I just try to show few pictures of jasmine sambak, which is also known as a gundu malli locally. Jasmine sambak. We are one of the very good producers of this at our Madurai unit. And next, please. So here you can see this another grandiflorum slides. And next, please. So this export data, these are Jasmine absolute export data. These are in few tons because the absolute is quite expensive. It is something like $3,500 a kilo. So that is why the it is not in terms of multi tons, but few tons are good enough to give very good price realization, and that is what is happening in India. Next, please. Next, please. So then cardamom, actually, I have not touched too much in detail the many spices which are very legendary for India. And India has been known as a country of spices, and cardamom occupies one of the very important position in it. And especially Kerala and Karnataka are the major producers for the same. Next. So export of cardamom and oil. Next. And import also some countries, the like Madagascar or other countries also are important producers, and many times when the prices are less there, our India is the largest consumer also of cardamom, so they import actually. Next. Then same way position of ginger actually. Now a lot of production of ginger after post-COVID. I can see a lot of our friends and known people are doing in a large scale cultivation of very good variety of ginger. Next, please. China and India have been the major producers and exporters of this oil. So these are some of data actually. Next. 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 Turmeric is, of course, very well known, and curcumin is going in a large quantity from India as a biomolecules extracted from Curcuma longa. And more the curcumin, better the price of this turmeric. And that is the now target for many of the farmer to grow Lakadang variety and so on and so forth. Next. 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 So turmeric is going to grow, and in 2020, if you see the figure, it has even crossed all the barriers. Coriander is similar, but we have the competition from few of the cold countries like Russia and so on, even uh, Kazakhstan. So they are important producers, and also they compete in coriander and its oil. Next, next, next. Same way, cumin, of course, our position is very good, but Iran is also a competitor. But you can see here, Rajasthan is very, very important dominant player, followed with Maharashtra, Andhra, and it's so we can say that cumin oil and its spice as such is very good for India. Next, 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 next. Celery seed is very important, grown mainly in Punjab and North India area. Next, and its oil is also important. Export is mainly from North India, and mainly to meet the entire world's demand. Next. Fennel is also produced in good quantity and again being exported. Next. 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 Fenugreek is now gaining very important after this corona, and you can see that India's dominant position and these areas. If you see this, it has very good future for fenugreek. Next. Next. Garlic is same. More and more is coming up actually. Next. 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 Nutmeg is very good future actually. Now we are growing lot of nutmeg in our area of Konkan as a intercrop, because this crop has been mainly dominated by Indonesia, but Kerala has done it quite well. But now the entire coastal location we can grow it quite well, and it has good demand in the world market. So because of a very good component like myristicin. Next. You can see that export and import both are taking place, because Indonesia is sometimes very dominant, and Sri Lanka also. So many Indian importers export and import also, both. They do both activity. Next. Same way cinnamon. Again, India is coming up very quickly in cinnamon. But of course, China, Vietnam are dominating, followed by Sri Lanka of other variety. Next, please. Cassia is bit different. Many people get confused cassia with cinnamon, so that should not be there. Next. Next. Black pepper is of course very big item for India, and of course Vietnam has taken over India, and now a lot of production is there in Vietnam, and more chances of production even in India is very good. So large scale cultivation as a climber. So it can be one part of a three-tier cropping system or four-tier cropping system, which we are trying to do in our Konkan area. Next, please. By high density vertical farming. Next. Next. Same way clove also, but Indonesia is dominant player. In south actually some areas of Kanyakumari and area that it grows, but still Zanzibar, Indonesia are the major player, and to some extent Sri Lanka also. Next. Next. Star anise comes from mainly China. India has not started producing. Next. 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 Yeah, oleoresin is made actually, so import. And now thank you very much everyone for listening. Although I was a bit late actually, but nevertheless you gave me, the organizer were kind enough to allow me to spare more time. So thank you very much for patiently hearing. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Ramakant ji, for your wonderful informative talk. And we are looking forward for information sharing and collaboration to have
Yes.
successful implementation of Aroma Machine 2 in our institution as well. Probably our faculties will be eager to know what are the main scheme funding opportunities that is available with Aroma Phase 2. If you are aware of it, please you can explain it.
Yeah. I will share with you. You send me the WhatsApp. I think
Yeah.
Salma has my number, so she will share the WhatsApp number. So I can share the Aroma Mission's financial aspects actually, which we planned and submitted to the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the 7 labs and their role and their financial outlay and all the things, and their divisionalization of activity also.
So there is one question by Dr. Nivedita. She asks, why do you think the production of eucalyptus has reduced drastically?
Sorry. This is coming.
Why do you think the production of eucalyptus has reduced drastically?
See, in the south, actually, especially at the Kodaikanal and Uti, the eucalyptus cultivation has been stopped. and it has been prevented because they fear that it sucks more water, and the water scarcity was felt at both the hilly stations. So that is why whatever the eucalyptus were standing, they were being allowed, I think so, and no new plantation came up. And moreover, as I told you, this lot of land prices went up there in those areas, but no new area has come up. No new plants have been made for eucalyptus. And whereas the consumption kept on rising, I remember around 1984-85, the consumption was almost 300 tons and production was 400 tons. But now the into 2020, consumption of India is more than 2,000 tons because of our large population and because of our more and more consumption in this Ayurveda or regular our products like aromatherapy and so on and so forth, and so many spas and so on. So, but no new area has been identified or done any sincere efforts by anyone. So that is the reason actually we become a net importer.
Thank you, sir, for that very informative talk. It was very interesting also. So, on behalf of the students, staff, and management of the Oxford College of Engineering, we thank Dr. Ramakanji for his time taken to deliver such informative talk in this faculty development session, and we hope we'll be in touch with you and we'll try to collaborate with you for any kind of work, Dr. Mule.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. I am also grateful to Oxford University and their staff and very, interactive interaction with me from Dr. Manjunath and yourself, so that it was possible today. Even very good event took place. Thank you very much.
Ramakant sir, can we have another session in the next phase with the
Yes.
product that you have in your shop? I mean, your factory?
Yeah. I'm in the farm actually right now.
Yeah,
I am.
last time we met, you were exhibiting so many innovative products and other devices that you have invented and used and developed in your factory.
Yes.
If you share those, in case if it is shareable, and if you can discuss on that, I think it will be more inspiration for the students and faculty members.
Yeah. Do you want me that in the second session, should I be present or
Yes,
and
sir. Yes, sir.
interact with them if they ask more question?
Yes, sir. No, I mean, in the phase 3, we will meet again, sir. Phase 3 will start from March 29th to April 10th. So I will invite you for one more session. So at that time, we can take that product development process.
Sure. I will be very happy to share that particular kind of presentation. You just narrate me expectation of your attendee, so that I will try to mold my presentation, because I have got every kind of presentation. So I will be very targeted and can make interesting for others.
Because when we met last time in the CMAP, that was very impressive.
Yes.
And I feel other faculty members who are participating in the workshop will get more benefit out of it.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, we have a question from one of the participants. Why do you think finish that?
What?
Sir, we are thanking you for the question that they had asked, sir. It was informative enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You may kindly log off, sir. We are done with this session. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.